My name is Jerome Ferry. My cameraman is Alan Eggers. We're doing a video interview with Elma Dlask, who along with her late husband Loomer owned and operated the Dlask Grocery at 1532 Ellis Boulevard Northwest for many years. Elma, tell us what year you were born in and where you were born.
I was born in 1910. Yeah.
In Linn County?
In Johnson County. I was born on a farm a mile west of Swisher. My folks were farmers.
Mm-hmm. What were your folks' name?
Pudil, P-U-D-I-L.
Yeah. They were Czech?
Yes.
Czech. Were they wouldn't have been immigrants. Their parents probably were. But
I don't think even their parents were. I think they were born in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had one sister, and she's passed away.
What was her name?
Gladys Petrick.
Was she older or younger than you?
Younger, 7 years younger.
7 years younger. So you were probably the farm hand.
Well, yes, I helped like shuck oats and things like that, and she did the work, help my mother in the house.
Did you have to milk cows?
Yes.
How many cows do you remember your dad?
Well, I'll tell you, my folks took a 3-day vacation, and I milked 25 cows in the morning and at night.
Do you remember any of your childhood memories of living on the farm? Were there a lot of good times, or was it a lot of work?
Well, it wasn't a lot of work, but you didn't neighbor like you would, you know. We had my dad's brother lived across the street from us, but otherwise, I did go like to school programs and things like that.
Did you go to country school?
Yes. I went to at Swisher till 9th grade, and then I went to Washington High School to finish and then I went to Cole for a year and a half so I could get my teacher's certificate.
Mm-hmm. When you were growing up as a child, was Christmas a special time?
Yes.
At your house?
Yes, it was.
Was your mother decorate the house and make everything look nice?
Well, a little bit, but she always cooked a lot, and we always, Christmas Day, had company. Always a house full of company on Christmas Day, and she cooked a big meal.
How about the 4th of July? Was that something you look forward to as a young...
Yeah, as a kid, yes, it was something. We used to go to Swisher and shoot off firecrackers and things like that.
Did your mom ever bring you girls to Cedar Rapids?
Yes.
When you were little girls?
Especially, I don't remember so much when my sister... But when I was a kid, we used to go take the interurban. My dad would take us to the depot at Swisher, and we'd go to town, and Mother would shop. And then there was a lunch place called Brim's on First Street.
Was that possibly a bakery at that time?
And we'd get a sandwich. I always look forward to that sandwich.
Where did you get off of the interurban? Right downtown?
Right downtown.
You recall how much the fare was? How much it cost?
I don't remember that. See, I didn't pay much attention. Mother paid for it. And
how old would you have been about that time when your mother used to bring you to town?
Oh, I was only. Well, let's see. It was before my sister was born, because there's 7 years difference. I must have been between 4 and 5 or 6, somewhere there.
So that was probably quite an adventure for you.
Yes.
Do you remember the stores did Mother bring you around Christmas time when all the stores were?
Yeah, I remember Newman's and Denneke's and
Denneke's, was that a large kind of department store?
Yeah, it was a department store.
Was there Kramer's and Killian's at that time, or
Not right at that time. They come in later.
Armstrongs? Were they there at that time when you were a young
I don't
girl?
remember them.
Okay. Did you ever get a chance to take a train? Were you aware of Union Station when you were young? Did you ever take a train out of there, perhaps?
Well, when on the farm, I belonged to the 4-H club, and I raised some hogs, and I showed them, and I went a trip to Chicago. And at Chicago, December, I think it was the 3rd, there was a showing of these hogs, that one, and my dad was the one that took me.
That was quite an adventure for you.
Yes, it was.
Quite an honor too.
And of course, the country kid, I was half scared.
Did you win a ribbon or anything?
I can't remember that, but I don't remember.
Now, when you took the train in, that wasn't an overnight trip. Probably you left in the morning and arrived in the afternoon
got to
sometime.
Chicago and same way going home.
Did your mother go along with you at that time,
No,
or just
my
you and your
mother
dad?
stayed home with my sister, see, and then she had to take care of the milking cows and taking care of us on the farm.
Going way back, do you recall ever hearing about the Douglas Starch Work explosion
Oh yes, we heard it
in Swisher?
in Swisher.
Did you know how much later was it that you found out what possibly caused it? Did the news travel pretty fast?
Pretty fast, but I imagine by the next day that we knew what caused it.
Did it?
It shook the ground, and you could hear the explosion.
And I imagine your dad knew that something terrible must have happened then. How about World War I? Do you have any memories or of maybe Armistice Day, possibly?
Well, the only thing I really remember that my dad got a notice that he would be called, but it didn't specify what time or anything, but that to be on alert that he would definitely be called, but he never got called.
He never did get called. That would have been that would have left you kind of a, what they say, an lurch if he got called into the service.
Yes, he would have been left with the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you remember your dad's first automobile?
Yeah, it was an Overland touring. I remember riding it.
Did you? You don't recall what year it was?
Well, I don't remember that, but I wonder what year it could have been.
Did you? Did you learn how to drive in that car?
Not in that car. But soon after that, my dad, they got a better, newer car, and I learned to drive.
Did you teach yourself when your folks weren't around, or did your dad teach you? Or your mother teach you? Then?
No, my mother didn't drive. My dad must have taught me.
You probably didn't have to have driver's license then.
No, not at that time.
When you lived on the farm in growing up, did you have running water?
Well, toward the end we did, but at first, no, we had a pump outside and a pump by the sink in the kitchen that we could pump water in the house. But then later on, they did get running water.
Did you collect water in a cistern?
Yeah.
To wash your hair and for soft water?
Yes. We had a cistern right out the door.
And I imagine you had an outhouse.
Oh, yes.
Out in the back. Was there hollyhocks all around it?
There were some, yes.
How about kolaches? Was your mother good at making kolaches?
Oh, yes. Every Saturday she would bake kolaches and rolls. But I never was good at that. I tried it, and I didn't have luck. But my sister, she was luck. She knew how to do it.
How about entertainment when you were young like that? Did you ever get to go to Cedar Rapids to the movies? They didn't have a
No.
theater in Swisher, did they?
No.
About radio, did you have a radio?
Oh, yes. I can just see my dad sitting by the radio.
Did you have any favorite programs that the family always gathered around at night and listened to as a family?
I don't remember that. But there was a program that used to come on around noon, and I know that Dad always tuned in, but I can't tell you what the name of it was.
Maybe a farm show or a farm program or something?
I don't know.
What was your dad's favorite station that he listened to? Do you recall?
Most of the time he listened to, excuse me, WMT.
About telephones.
We had a telephone.
Did you have, was it one of those you had so many rings for each party on the line?
And you could listen in on the line, and that's what people are talking about.
How many were on the line, do you remember?
I don't remember.
Do you remember what your ring was? How many shorts or how many longs?
No, I don't. I don't remember that.
Your folks, when they lived down there in Swisher, did they come into Cedar Rapids and do their shopping on 16th Avenue in the Czech Village down there at that time? Do you recall?
No, the only time they come to town is when Mother wanted to shop for clothes or something. Then they'd come to town. But there was 2 grocery stores in Swisher, and one of them was run by my uncle, and so they bought like all their grocery. They bought right there.
How big of a? Do you remember how many acres your dad had on his farm? Was it a large farm? Or?
No, I think it was 40 acres or something.
40 acres? And he was able to support the family on 40 acres? By selling milk and cream, I suppose?
Milk, and cream.
And did your mother raise chickens?
Yes, and
So
ducks.
You had egg money? Did they take the eggs to town on Saturday night? And
Yeah, whenever I can just see the crate that they'd carry them in.
and they would probably use that money to buy groceries with. So, Elma grows up and she goes to Washington High School in Cedar Rapids. How did you get to Washington High School? Did you ride the interurban?
I rode the interurban, and then I worked for my board and room, and I lived on close to Beaver Park with a lady, and I worked for her, like helped her with dishes and clean
the house.
So I didn't have much time for any entertainment. I worked.
Could that have been a Mrs. Butterfield?
How did you know that?
From our pre-interview, I made a notation.
Yeah, Mrs. Butterfield, that's right.
Did you get to go home on weekends?
Yes. On Friday night, I would catch the interurban again downtown and go to Swisher, and my dad would pick me up. And then Sunday night, I'd do the reverse.
So you were kind of like a businessman. You'd come to Cedar Rapids in the city for the week and go home on Friday night.
Yeah.
Did you have any memories of the old Washington High School?
Well, the only memory I remember, there was a Dick Proctor that made fun of me.
Why did he make fun of you?
Well, I guess I was a country jerk.
He thought you were a country jerk. Yeah. Did you, people your age that I've talked to mention the trains, the large amount of trains that went by up and down and some of them would actually make the windows rattle in the building.
Yeah, they used to go past Washington High School in there. Yeah, I remember that too.
Is As a high school girl, did you get to do anything? Do any of the extracurricular activities? Did you have dances that you went to, or?
No, I didn't. See, I worked for my board and room, so I was kind of tied down.
So you didn't have a chance to partake in any sports either, probably.
No, I didn't.
Did you have a boyfriend in high school?
Well, I had a few, not from high school though. There was a dance hall in Swisher, and I used to on Saturday nights have the folks take me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they'd take me, and then somebody asked to take me home, and I wouldn't go back home with them, and it made them mad.
When you were in high school, did you know how to drive a car yet?
No.
When you were in high school, when you were a senior, junior, or senior, did you have any idea in your mind what you wanted to do with your life? Were you thinking about it, or?
Yeah, I really thought that I wanted to work like in a store or something, and then I decided I didn't like that I'd rather do something else, and I chose to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm. And where did you get a teaching degree at?
Iowa City.
I guess. Iowa City. Mm-hmm. Did you go to Cole?
Mm-hmm.
Cole College?
Yeah. It was a year and a half that I went to Cole.
And back then, in order to be a teacher, you didn't have to have a degree, I take it. You had to have a certificate.
You had to have a certificate that you had so much time. I forget how much it was, but I know that I had to go to Cole to get my degree so I could get my certificate to teach.
Mm-hmm. And so when you did get your certificate, where did you get assigned? Where did you have your first teaching job?
My first school was at Hills, and it was a country school where you had but you didn't have all of them. There weren't that many kids in there, but it would have been all of them. And some of the boys, I can remember 3 boys that were bigger than I was.
Did the older boys, respect you then as a teacher?
Pretty much so. Yeah. But I know that I told them to go home and not to come back until they could behave. What would have been some of the worst pranks they would have pulled, or did they? They didn't really pull any real pranks. They just kind of made fun of you, you know.
And you probably, as a young girl and just new to the job, this probably bothered you.
Well, yes, because I felt I had to be on the good side of the director that hired me, see? And of course, the thing is, and that was the time when married people couldn't work. And so as a teacher, I would have had not to be able to work. But my director, when I had to go tell him that I wouldn't be able to teach anymore, he says, "Oh, yes, you will." He says, "I'll hire you." And I was there 7 years.
So when you first started teaching, did you live with your folks?
Yes.
At that time? And, there's some other ones I wanted to mention. As a young girl, do you remember the Cherry Sisters in Cedar Rapids?
Yes.
Did you get to see them perform, or?
No, I didn't really. I just heard about them and that, but I didn't really see them perform.
When did you first get serious about a boy? What was his name?
Well, it must have been my husband. It was Elma Dlask, and his folks had a grocery store on 16th Avenue, there on the corner.
How did you meet him? Where did you meet him then?
I met him at a Solon homecoming, and that was another thing. I wanted to go to the homecoming, so the folks always took me. And I was across the street, and he was walking on the other side of the street, and he eyed me, and we got together and visited, and from then on, I was his girlfriend.
Did you, were your folks strict about when you went any place at night, you had to be home at a certain time? And
Well, pretty much so, yeah. Mother was always awake, and I'd always, when I'd go on a date, and I had no problem having a date. Anyway, I'd come home, there'd be bed, and I'd sit at the foot of her bed and tell him everything that happened.
so how long did you and Loomer go together before you decided to get married then?
Well, we were married in 32.
32? Mm-hmm. And where did you get married?
Well, someplace in that was another thing. We took a couple of friends with us, and somebody said something about getting a judge marrying us. I said, no, I have to have a minister to marry me. So we rode around and found a church in Aledo, Illinois. And
Aledo?
Aledo. And there was a minister there, and he married us.
Yeah. So you eloped is what you did.
Yes, we did. And we told him not to put, when he bought the license there, he told them not to put it in the paper. Well, a week later, here comes his mother. She lived in Cedar Rapids, all heft up. It was in the paper that we were married. And so, yes, we were.
Was there any reason you eloped, or to save money, or?
No, it was just kid stuff, you know.
You had mentioned something, you had made a comment that if the school board knew you were married, they couldn't hire you.
That's right.
Would that possibly have had any bearing on why you possibly eloped, so you wouldn't lose your job?
Yeah, because we couldn't be married to work. In those days, well, you couldn't get a job anywhere, really, if you were married.
This was right at the beginning of the Depression.
Yeah.
Did this have any effect? Do you recall the Depression have any effect on you or Loomer's life? Or
Not really. On the farm, it didn't affect us very much. It was, we raised a lot of stuff. Mother always had a big garden,
and then it didn't affect your dad. He didn't lose the farm or anything during the Depression. So you had touched on the school when they found out you were married, and you said that they weren't going to let you go. Is that true?
Yeah. The director says to me that he will still hire me and to keep on, and so I stayed there 7 years.
So there wasn't any more said about it?
No, nobody said anything.
Being married. I'm surprised you didn't have other friends or acquaintances that found out that you still got to keep your job and being married.
Well, I didn't run around with too many people. I had one friend that at school, Roxy Phillips was her name, and she still lives in Italy, and we exchanged Christmas cards. She was the only one I was very close to.
So how was young Loomer expecting to support you? Did he have a job?
I don't think he worried about that. He knew we could live with my folks and they'd pay. But he worked for his dad, in the store some. Mm-hmm. And then he went to Link Belt Speeder and got a regular job.
Did, when he worked for his dad was in the grocery business?
Mm-hmm.
Was that on 16th Avenue?
Yeah, they're on the corner of 16 and J.
J. Was it called the Dlask Grocery? Do you recall?
I think it was. But as much as I can remember, I think it was.
Why didn't he stay with his dad? Did his dad possibly lose his business in the Depression?
I think his dad sold out, if I remember right.
So then Loomer went to Linn
Feeder
at that time. How long did he work there? Let me ask you, I guess, did he have to serve in World War II?
No, he got a notice that he might have to, but he never had to go.
He was probably classified as essential to the war effort.
Something like that.
And he got an exemption. Do you remember Old Hunter Airport?
Mm-hmm. My folks were friends of old Dan Hunter.
Really? Uh-huh.
And he used to take my dad for rides in the airplane.
Did Elma ever get to go up?
Yeah, I went up too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You were quite a outgoing person, I take it. Willing to try.
I would try
new
anything.
Things. Well, that's great. Do you remember your first plane ride you took?
Well, I don't know if I remember the first one, but I do remember taking several and flying and looking down at the places, you know. And Dan Hunter took Dad lots of places, and I got to go too.
Oh, that's great. I don't think you mentioned that to me before. Did he ever fly down over your dad's farm so your dad could see his farm from the air?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, good. Do you remember anything about Hunter Field that stuck out in your mind other than?
No, I just remember where it was, but I don't remember too much about it.
Did your mother ever worry about you? I
don't know. She never let on. She probably knew it wouldn't do her any good.
Well, your dad must have been an adventurous type of person too.
Yeah,
then
he was.
Good. So, how did you get into the grocery business?
Well,
is this something that Loomer always wanted to do? Because
he was brought up in the grocery business, and he either wanted to run a restaurant or a grocery store. And then it come up that he could run a grocery store, so he was in the grocery business.
I think you told me this was 1948 when you bought
the
first grocery store. And you had mentioned a price of $10,000 that you paid for it. Did you have that money, or did Loomer have to borrow it?
We borrowed it, and we had no problem borrowing it.
Is this the store that you run at on Ellis Boulevard for years, or was that a second store? The first store you bought, was that the store across the street?
Yeah, right here.
That was
yeah.
That was that location that you bought that. What was you recall the name of the store or the name of the business when you brought it?
Gee, I don't remember the name of the guy. It was a mad bachelor that run it, but I don't remember the name.
Was it some type of a grocery store?
It was a grocery store, just like it was.
That was 1532 Ellis Boulevard, Northwest. So when you first started this business, what was you and your husband? What was your responsibilities? Did your husband still work at Link Belt Speeder when you bought it?
No, he had to quit Link Belt Speeder because the business got so good in the store that I couldn't run it, and besides, I didn't know too much about it, and so he quit his job there, and then it was called Dlask Grocery, and bought it for $10,000.
So, for a husband and a wife to work that close together, for that many years, I imagine it took, you had certain ways to do things. Did you have your responsibilities and Loomer have his responsibilities as far as the...
Well, he took care of the meat department. I knew nothing about the meat department. I would take care of all the grocery and stuff like that, you know. And we'd work together.
And for years, if I remember right, Dlask Grocery was known for their meats.
Yes.
Their good cut of meats.
Excuse me.
In your busiest years, Elma, how many butchers would your husband had hired in for the meat department? Do you recall? How many meat cutters?
Well, I can remember having 2 others besides my husband.
Where did he buy carcasses and cut them up in the store? Buy the whole carcass?
Yeah, he'd buy like a half a beef and same one with the pigs, you know, and then cut it up himself.
Cut it up as the customer would like it?
No, he'd cut it ahead of time and have it, and then he'd put it in the case, see, and they'd buy what they wanted.
If somebody would come in and wanted a special cut or cut in a special way, could he give them that?
He would do that.
Where did he buy his carcasses from then? Where did he buy the beef and the pork?
I think from Wilson's here in town.
Was this something they probably made daily deliveries that your business was?
I don't think it was daily deliveries, but I can't tell you how they delivered them.
Did you have a bakery in the store?
Not a regular bakery. At that time, then later on, I think we did have had a bakery, but when we first opened up, we didn't have.
Were you known for your potato salad? That has been a...
Yeah, people would want the recipe. Of course, after my daughter... We never gave it out. It was my mother's recipe, and so we never gave our recipe out. And then when Karen took the store over, she had people ask her, and she'd say, just potato salad.
Would you give Alan and I your recipe when we leave?
Well, I'll tell you, there's nothing to it.
Did you... At one time, you used to have a hot dog and bratwurst stand outside in the summertime. Who would man that? Some high school kid, or?
Yes, I don't remember who did, but I imagine it was somebody that.
I can having a business in a neighborhood. I imagine you knew a lot of the customers by their first names and knew their kids, and.
That's right.
You become very, very close to them, and they become very close to you, I imagine it. Do you remember any big differences between your store, you, and Loomer's store, and Loomer's dad's store? That, like, you probably didn't have anything in bulk and barrels, did you? Like if they did in the early days.
Well...
Do you remember your Loomer's dad's store?
Not very much. See, I lived in the country, and I didn't go to that store very much.
What I was getting at, back then stores used to buy pickles in barrels and crackers in barrels.
Yeah.
Was your store like that, or?
No, we didn't have anything like that.
It was more modern.
Yeah.
Did you, in all of the years you've ever had you had your business, did you ever have a hold up? Did anybody try to rob you?
I can just see that guy walking in the door with a gun, and I was getting ready to lock up the store, so I had the safe open, and So
What kind of hours did you have for store hours?
9 till 9 o'clock.
This was 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And Sundays, did you have shorter hours on Sundays?
Yeah, sometimes I think we closed at 6 on Sunday.
This person that robbed you, did you know him?
Mm-mm.
Did you ever get your money back?
No.
Never did. Did you expand your store over the years? Did you add on to it?
Yes, we built to the side of the store. We built.
Did you have any particular store brand, like IGA or Super Value or?
Well, most of the stuff we bought from Super Value.
Mm-hmm. In working those hours, 7 days a week, did you ever get burned out? Did you ever
Not
just
really.
get plain tired?
No.
Did you and Loomer ever get a chance to take any vacations? Or was it work?
Well, finally, toward the end, we did take vacation. We had hired a man that we could trust, and so we did manage to get away for a week or so.
Did you do home deliveries?
Yes, we used to deliver,
People would call in and place their order.
and then we deliver it.
In all the years you've been on Ellis Boulevard here, were you ever affected by any of the floods that?
Well, no, not really. The last flood that we had here, we had about 2 feet in the basement. And then somebody told me that one flood in 29, that was to the landing in the basement, but we didn't live here then.
Mm-hmm. When you first bought your store here on Ellis Boulevard, was there other grocery stores?
Yes, there was 3 right on the boulevard. And then there was one that was on the next street, on 6th Street.
Would Nelson's, does that ring a bell?
And Nelson's was up the street here, closer to the park.
Krupa's?
Krupa's was this way on Alice, right?
Towards town, closer to town.
And then Igram's.
And there was enough business that everybody made a
They
profit.
seemed to. We did all right in the store.
What was your most profitable years in the grocery business, where you made your most money in it, you recall?
No, I don't know that. I didn't pay attention.
50s, 60s, 70s?
Probably the 60s.
Did you allow people to start a charge account to charge their groceries?
We did at first, yes, but then finally we discontinued that. But we let them charge, and there was a funny thing. Well, it must be at least 3 or 4 years ago. The family that borrowed money because they didn't have any money was around $40. And then they moved to California, and so Loomer and I decided that was the end of that. And lo and behold, one day, who doesn't come in but this couple with the money to pay. So we got our money.
Renewed your faith in.
Yeah. There are some honest people.
Did you have many that just reneged on their charge accounts and didn't pay you?
Yes, we've had that several.
How about theft? As far as children coming in and shoplifting, or even grown-up shoplifting, did you ever think you had that problem?
We had a man that I remember especially. He was had one leg gone, and it used to be where you could sit on the landing on the store, and he'd steal a fudgesicle and get out there. So one day my husband decided, I'm going to get even with that guy. So he let him sit there with this fudsicle in his pocket until he thought it was melted. And then my husband got after him and he said, "Here's your so-and-so popsicle."
What'd you enjoy most about working in the store?
I enjoy the people.
Talking to the people. And did people then have a tendency to tell you all of their problems? And
Some of them.
And you would just listen to them and
Yeah,
be accommodating. And did you ever wish you'd stayed teaching?
Not really, no. I enjoyed it while I was doing it, but no, I liked it better the way it was.
You were married in 1932
Yes,
until your husband passed away in 1993.
hmm
Yeah. Did you ever do anything on your anniversaries, or
nothing special.
did he buy any?
Well, he always bought me a bouquet of carnations, and on Valentine's Day, he always gave me a tulip plant.
He never brought you any roses, then?
Yes, he also, I think that was on our anniversary that he'd buy roses
Then would he buy you a rose every year?
for every year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My.
He started with one rose, and I forget, but it was way up when he passed away.
You become quite expensive after a
Yes,
while.
that's right.
Did you carry roses at the store?
No.
Was Pearson's flower shop down the road when you first started?
Mhm.
So that's been an old family business.
There's two, yes.
Either when you first bought the store or when you were a young girl, did you ever visit the Ellis Park down here for any events on the water or in the park itself? Or did they have a swimming pool when you first
Yeah.
opened the store?
There was a swimming pool there. Not really. I'm not really, wasn't sports minded, like some people are. And then I was busy at the store and busy with the kids. And
Did your daughters, did they help you in the store?
yes, they both worked in the store.
This was Karen and
And Cheryl.
Cheryl. And what would they do? Stock shelves, or did they get to the point that they would take care of the cash register?
Yeah, they'd. Well, Karen got to the point where Cheryl got married then and didn't work at the store anymore. But Karen stayed with us until she sold the store and everything, and she took care of all. But I got where I didn't do anything at the store anymore.
And then I think you had told me earlier, 1987, she run the store until 1987.
Mm-hmm.
And then the store finally, after she had gotten rid of it, sold it.
There was a fella came, she put it up for sale, and he came and he says to her, I've been watching this corner for 20 years. And he bought it just like that.
And then they built a convenience store there.
Evidently that he must have sold it to the convenience because...
And now there's a convenience store on the corner. All of these years, did you live in this house all of those years?
All those years.
So you'd walk out your front door, across the street, and go to work.
First we lived in 1628 right on the boulevard. It was a real nice, kind of a nice house. But the family that lived here, that house came up for sale, so they bought that, and so then they had this for sale. Well, this house was kind of in bad shape. The basement wasn't nice and anything, but my husband was real handy, and he remodeled it and did everything, and then just not too long ago, of course, we built the back on. But
For either one of you to get much done in your home here, I imagine you had to put in long hours after you left the store.
Sometime, yes.
Did you try to cook 3 meals a day, or did you find yourself?
I just cooked one meal. My husband wasn't used to eating breakfast, and he never wanted breakfast. And lunch, we'd eat something at the store, a sandwich. Then I'd go home at 4 o'clock and manage to cook a meal by 5 so that he could come and eat. And then we'd both eat, and I'd go back to work, and he'd go back to work, and the girls did the dishes.
So really, both of you didn't really drive a car that much, did you, during the week? Being so close to work like that, very, very handy.
No, we just walked.
Would your girls gone to Roosevelt School then?
Yes.
Schooling?
Mm-hmm.
That was a high school then?
Then
They both graduated from Roosevelt?
yeah.
Elma, you have some lovely family photos here that we want to have you show. This here is a picture of you
And my sister. See, there was 7 years difference.
and your sister's name again was?
It's Karen. And
Very nice. This is your. And this here is your wedding picture.
that's right.
August 18th, 1932. You're a lovely looking couple.
That's me and my sister. Karen is 6 years old and Cheryl is 9 years old.
Curly hair.
That's Cheryl and Karen.
Tilt just a little bit. There you go. Which is which?
The younger one is Karen and the older one is Cheryl.
Very nice.
And this is me and my husband. And I don't know when it was taken, but
In the later years.
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have you hold that one up. And this here is a picture of Loomer. And the picture of the star, and that's your sister Karen on the bottom with you.
Yeah, that's Karen and me.
Very nice. Elma, do you have any grandchildren?
Yes, I've got, well, I've got 4, and then 4 step-grandchildren.
Are these Karens or Cheryls?
Cheryl's.
Cheryls.
Karen never had any kids.
Did Karen, your daughter, ever get married?
Karen, no.
Yeah.
No. I just said she said she never found anybody that could make her life any better.
That's a perfectly good reason. Elma, unless you have anything else you want to mention or talk about the Cedar Rapids History Center, the Linn County Historical Society, would like to thank you very much for sharing your memories with us. It's been very enjoyable.
That's all right. I'm glad to do it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.